Despite the name, there are many reasons people call Aleknagik home. The bounty of the land, the water, the solitude. Where float planes fly to fishing lodges accessible only by water and air. But life here has some unusual challenges. You can drive to Aleknagik from Dillingham, but the road dead ends at the lake, which for almost a century has split the community between two shores, with only one school to serve them both. For years, the school has sent a skiff to the harbor on the south side to bring kids across. Like a school bus, the driver has stops along the way. Nobody talks. It's too cold, but they're used to weather far less kind. And when these waters freeze over, they cross in a sled pulled by a snow machine. But no more. You've just witnessed the end of an era. A bridge now crosses the Great Divide. It stretches across the Wood River, so clear you can see the salmon swim. The bridge was finished last year, but without access roads, it was basically a bridge to nowhere. Although it's still a work in progress, the new road is far enough along you can reach the bridge. Next summer, it'll be paved. The battle for the bridge goes back to 1933, when the first school was built.
She was angry because her children had to cross the lake.
That was Carolyn Smith's great-aunt Della who complained to the school board. And after this school was built, her uncle who taught there told her about a note from a parent written more than a half-century ago.
Somebody had complained because their child was late to school, and he said, "You think it's easy to cross that lake? You should try and cross that lake every morning. You know, it's no wonder my kids are late to school."
Well, at least these kids won't have that excuse. Although their ancestors crossed the bridge in some of the worst weather imaginable, these students are the first in their generation to use the bridge. The final price tag for the project, about $20 million, or about $87,000 per person. Critics in Washington called it a boondoggle.
If anyone has come to the state of Alaska, you can see the vastness and the uniqueness that we have and the need that we have for transportation projects.
Especially with climate change. The lake rarely freezes solid in the winter anymore, so you have to navigate through ice and open water, not just to get back and forth to school, but to also bring groceries and supplies across. So the kids rode on that in the winter?
Yes, they did. Wow. So you can imagine the slush.
Slush that squeezes through this sled's wooden slats when it's towed across the lake.
You can easily tip a sled sideways if you're not careful. Yes, and I think that's happened once or twice.
Stories like this make it easy to understand Aleknagik's decades-long fight for the bridge.
She was a very loved woman in the community.
Kay lost her mother and her uncle Johnny Ilutzik in 1971. They crashed through the lake on a snow machine and drowned. Kay was just a kid, the oldest of four.
And I didn't know what death was. I didn't know what death was at 7 years old, but I learned real quick what it meant.
An aunt had to break the news.
She says, "Okay, do you know when a fish comes out of the water and it's no longer living?" That's how she explained to me that my mother died, but it was just the opposite. And she went into the lake.
Kay also lost her cousin Kevin Ilutzik. In all, there have been about 10 deaths on the lake since 1960.
We're not the only community like this out there. I understand the cry for a bridge.
A cry finally heard and answered.
Sometimes I think you just have to persevere, and sometimes when you wait, good things happen.